Hey there, welcome to day 15 of our 30 plus day Get Up and Go Challenge. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here, and today we're going to pop right into our SOAP framework again. We're going to run through our SOAP framework for the next 4 days for another area or aspect of our life. We did physical, we just finished physical. How'd that go for you? I hope it went all right. If you have questions, remember to ask me in the comments below or direct message me. Now I want to pop all the way down to relationships. Why physical? Why relationships? And next, I'm going to tell you right now, we're going to hop into financial. We're going to go through these three big areas because these tend to be, with everyone I talk to, I've actually talked to millions of people over my lifetime. Everybody, either health, wealth, or relationships tends to be one of their big three areas of concern, or their number one concern right now. All of our number one concerns almost always fall into one of those three categories, either our health, our physical well-being, our wealth, our money, our finances, or lack thereof, or our relationships. And each and every one of those areas and aspects of our life, like all of these areas and aspects of our life, if we ignore them too long, or if we don't pay enough attention to them, remember, I don't believe in balance. I think balance is complete and utter BS. But I do believe that we have to pay some attention to all these areas and aspects of our life, or we get ourselves into some big trouble. How do I know? Personal negative experiences. So today we are going to hop right into relationships, and we're of course going to start with our S. S for our SOAP framework. And this is, and I feel like I say this a lot during the challenge, this is one of my favorite tools. And it's one of my favorite tools because I made it up. And I made it up even before I knew that tools and things could help us get through life. And I call it the imaginary friend exercise, the imaginary friend tool. Why? Because I am here to admit out loud to the whole wide world that I had an imaginary friend. I had an imaginary friend named George. George was a sea captain who lived in my closet. Why? Mainly I invented him to keep my sisters out of my bedroom and scared them by saying there was a ghost in my closet. But he was my imaginary friend who, you know, somebody I could bounce ideas off of, somebody I could talk to when nobody else was around. And I had a lot of sisters, so pretty much there was always someone around. But somebody I could use as a tool to get my sisters to stay out of my room, out of my stuff, especially out of my closet, my clothes, and the things I didn't want them to mess with. Now, my dad came to find out at my dad's funeral, actually, that he had an imaginary friend when he was young named, I've got to look up the name because it's such a cute name, Albertson Roberts. And his sisters and his other family members were relaying stories of his imaginary friend, Albertson Roberts. And they had no idea where he got the name Albertson Roberts. When he was a little boy, his brother was 8 years older than him, and he had a lot of sisters. And he was the youngest at the time of, I think, 4 sisters. And so he felt like he was always being mothered to death. So he had an imaginary friend. I'm not sure why he had his imaginary friend, but probably to cope with all of the sisters and the females around him at that time. So how can you use an imaginary friend to help explore your story or your situation? Remember, with respect to our physical well-being, we said our S stands for the story we're telling ourselves or the situation we're describing to ourselves. We're always doing that about everything in our life at any given time. We decide what our story is, what our image is, what our identity is with respect to every change, every challenge that comes our way. And it is what it is. In a lot of situations and a lot of our stories, there are things that happen that we have absolutely zero control over. I know people will tell you can control everything, but that's a lie. I don't know anybody yet that can control the weather. We have to just deal with how we manage our reactions to the weather, right? So, imaginary friend exercise can help us get clear on the story of the way things are right now, what the situation really is. Because sometimes we just see through our rose-colored or filtered glasses, and we don't clearly see what's really going on. With COVID-19, that's a prime example of that, mainly because there's so much confusion around the topic and around, you know, how to deal with it, what to do, and things are changing so quickly, like all the time things are changing. So how can we use our imaginary friend to explore our relationships? Well, first we have to decide what relationship we want to pay attention to, because with respect to most everything, every category or aspect of our life, there are a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of different things going on. And so what we want to do is ask ourselves, what is the relationship that I most want to, or has been being affected the most right now? And choose that. Is it your significant other, your romantic relationship? Is it a business partner or an association? Is it a friend or acquaintance on social media? Is it family member, kids, parents, aunts, uncles, cousins, friends? The relationship that you have with yourself. I've actually done this challenge, and the relationship I worked on with the SOAP framework was my relationship with myself. That's part of what led me to, excuse my throat this week is really cloggy, doing the 365-day challenge to do one thing every day that centers me, was because it came out of last year when I did this SOAP, this actually Get Up and Go challenge. I went through the SOAP framework and I used relationships. I used my relationship with myself because I don't know about you, but almost everyone on the planet can improve their relationship with themselves. I'd imagine there's a percentage of the population, probably 1 to 3%, that is really in tune with themselves and 100% honest with themselves and everything else. But the vast majority of us are not. So maybe you can pick your relationship with yourself, relationship with your friend, relationship with your spouse or significant other, your relationship that you want that you don't have. Maybe you can create, using the SOAP framework, believe it or not, you can do this, your ideal relationship. So we're going to use the imaginary friend exercise, and we're going to talk to our imaginary friend. And if you don't have one, guess what? You get to make up your own imaginary friend, your own imaginary perfect best friend. Who would that be? What would they look like? What would their name be? You get to make that person up if you don't happen to have one. I still have George, so I pulled George out of the closet last year when I started doing this challenge and using this exercise because I'd kind of forgotten about it. Poor George was in the closet for probably 20 years while I was busy raising my family, doing business, being involved in corporate America, things like that. Corporate America, George pretty much went in the closet after college. Bam, he was done. So I pulled him out as a tool that I'd used that I'd forgotten about. We all learn things over the course of our lifetime and we forget about them until something reminds us, and then we're like, oh my gosh, I forgot how powerful that was. Whenever I had a problem or wanted to get rid of my sisters in school, in high school in particular, I would just, talk to George and George would give me ideas. Now, who is George really? Really, George is just an extension of my subconscious or my imagination, right? Just like my dad's imaginary friend and any other imaginary friend. They're an extension of ourselves and our imagination. So really, are we talking to ourselves? Yes. Don't get all hung up on it. Just do it. What I want you to do for this challenge for today, for describing your situation, I want you to describe what it is now and what you want it to be to your imaginary friend. If you can't get this woo-woo with me, just talk to yourself. If you can talk to a friend, an actual friend, if they will be absolutely positively open and just an awesome listener and non-judgmental and non-advice giving. All you want them to do is hear what the situation is right now with the relationship and then hear what you want it to be. So what is my situation? And I haven't picked what relationship I'm going to work on yet. I'll do that as part of my homework just like everyone else will. But what is my current relationship with my new granddaughter? I think I did. No, she wasn't born yet last time I did this. So I don't think maybe I did. I don't remember. Or I could do my older granddaughter or my granddaughters. I could do my son, my daughter, my son-in-law, my sisters, my mom. My dad's passed away, so I can't really change my relationship with him. My friends, my coworkers, people I work with, a joint venture, someone I would love to do a joint venture with. I could imagine, since I've got an imaginary friend, I could imagine what it would be like to be doing business with that person. So what's the situation now in the story? I don't even know that person. I don't have any relationship with them. I have no connection. What do I want to be? I want to be doing a joint business partnership with that person, a joint venture. Or I could do it with somebody I want to have on my podcast, or somebody I want to interview, somebody I want to get to know. Whatever you pick or choose, have a conversation with your imaginary friend about what your current situation is in this relationship and what you want that current situation to be. I guess if I was, divorced, but if it was I wanted to improve my relationship with my ex-husband, I could still improve my relationship with my ex-husband, except I don't really want to, so I'm not going to work on that one. But pick one that you want to work on, want to change, want to improve. Or pick a relationship that you're struggling with because COVID has changed a lot of relationships and made a lot of relationships that people thought were strong and built on a strong foundation realize that they were built on quicksand and that they're sinking fast. So that's what we're going to do. Our action item is do this, or I want you to do this exercise. It doesn't take but a couple of minutes. How long does it take to describe what your current relationship is what you want that relationship to be. You can do it in a couple of sentences, but do it in the mirror with yourself, talk to your imaginary friend, phone a friend, whatever works for you, and then share in the comments below one thing about how it made you feel doing this exercise and a lesson that you've learned from doing it. You know, maybe you realize that your relationship isn't as bad off as you thought it was, and that you are part of the problem in terms of making something out of nothing. Anybody ever done that? Anyone besides me misunderstood something and made it a big deal, and only to come to find out that the other person doesn't feel the same way about the situation at all as you do? That's probably a communication issue, but that happens in our relationships as well, right? So that's it for today. Any questions, ask in the comments below. Otherwise, I'll be with you tomorrow, and we will talk about the big O in our relationship. Take care.